It would be a very special champagne for you, right?
It seems it is a very special champagne for you too.
It is.
Yeah, it is very special, of course.
Meet Olivier Krug, a surname that immediately identifies the type of wine this episode is dedicated to, and in fact, the history of the house from the mouth of a sixth-generation founding family member.
You know, I think I had Krug on my lips the day I was born, and nothing could take me out of this journey.
Let's find out why Krug is one of the world's best champagnes, its history, and a word of warning. If you're one of our committed community who drinks the glass of wine that corresponds with our episode, for one, lucky you, glass of Krug, maybe change your glassware first.
Never ever drink champagne in a flute. It's like going to the opera with earplugs. You miss everything. You only have a bit of the excess and not always.
Saoud. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Got Somme, where today we're very lucky to be joined by another international guest and royalty within the wine community, Carlos. I'll let you introduce our guest because this is you've got so much history with this particular wine brand.
Yeah, definitely. It's a pleasure. I mean, obviously, to have Olivier Krug, Monsieur Olivier Krug in the studio is a huge pleasure. First time I met you is a big memory for me. It was first time I was in Champagne or one-off, and I went to Claude Ambonnet with a very good friend that you know well, I think, João Pires, Master Sommelier, that is now in Macau. And it was a very special trip, of course. First time I've tried Claude Ambonnet, and obviously a very small vineyard. But yeah, it's. I'm just very grateful to have you here. So
Welcome.
Bonjour, thank you. Hello.
I mean, obviously an iconic brand, and is it the 8th generation?
It's only the sixth
generation. Do you think for you there was any other route apart from wine? Did you want to become a race car driver, but because of your name and your family history and pedigree, it was always going to be champagne?
You know, I think I had Krug on my lips the day I was born, and nothing could take me out of this journey.
So many generations have passed since your great grandfather founded the estate. What is it about you that keeps the passion alive for you, and what are you passing on to the next generation winemakers with the same name?
I think it's all about the Krug lovers. When my great-grandfather started Krug, there was no Krug lover because there was no Krug then, but there were already a lot of champagne lovers who asked him or almost challenged him to offer the very best every year, whatever the climate. In theory, this is impossible, but Joseph Krug decided that he would create this type of champagne that did not exist, a champagne that would aim for the very best quality every single year.
You at Krug do a lot of different harvests from very different vineyards, from very different plots. And could you explain a little bit how does that work for Krug? Because that's what is understandable, right, of Krug, especially the Grand Cuvee, which is your prestige champagne, if you like. You don't like to call it that way, but it's every single year so unique. Why does customer expect that?
Yes, thank you. If you want to be in a position to offer the very best every year, you have to rely on the very best ingredients, elements. Therefore, if you go average, you might fail because even in a good year, if there is a weakness and if you mix everything prior to tastings, you will include the weak points. In a difficult year, if you blend everything before tasting, you will have the average quality. Whatever good years might have been blended within the others, you will lose this beauty. And last but not least, as a wine specialist, and I believe that the people listening to us are wine specialists also, that a plot in a vineyard is always different from a neighbor plot because the soil is not exactly the same, the wind doesn't exactly enter the same way, because the vines have not been planted the same year. Maybe the growers are different, etc., etc. And so for Joseph Krug, it was obvious that he would not mix the different vineyards, and that for him, every single plot should lead to a single wine, that each of these single wines should be tested and then oriented to whatever cuvee, or even sometimes asked to leave the house because the quality was not there.
I mean, he's one of the plots, obviously, Claude Ambonnet. which it would be a very special champagne for you, right? For example, and it's so small.
It seems it is a very special champagne for you too.
It is.
Yeah, it is very special, of course. We don't have a bottle here, but I'm sure we'll showcase a label. But so if everything in Champagne is obviously great champagne where you pick grapes from, would Claude Amonet be the maestro? Because I know your analogy with music, which is really nice, and maybe you could touch a little bit on that as well.
I think Julie Caville, our cellar master, likes to describe herself as a music conductor. So she likes to say that each wine coming from different plot is the equivalent to a musician. And that every year with her team, and there are 7 people, 7 experts testing, we call the tasting committee at Krug, testing the wines, they will listen one by one to all these different musicians, which are as many wines coming from as many plots. And we have up to 300 every year. So because she says, I have to recruit the musicians that I will put on stage to play a new edition of the dream of the founder, that music offering the most generous music from Champagne. But nature being what it is, every year, especially in Champagne, is very different from the previous and the next one. So we have good years and bad years. And even within the good years, you have years which are led by classicism. You have years which are led by over-ripeness, but beautiful, charismatic. You have years which are more dull. You still have beautiful things, but they are more dull. But anyway, whatever the year, you have to recruit musicians to put on stage. So, for example, in a very classical year, you will easily find the top instruments, those that you would recruit for Berlin Philharmonic Orchestra, for example. So you can fill some of the seats on stage, but there are still empty seats. You miss a trumpet, you may miss a triangle. As simple as it is extremely important. So this is when you go back to previous years where you've asked some of the musicians to stay, to be very patient, sometimes up to 15 years, until the day I call you back. So every year we will reinvite to the orchestra musicians from the past.
Yeah, like in this particular bottle, some of the wine inside is from 2000, the year 2000. That is quite insane.
So exactly.
So, a musician.
In this bottle that we are just releasing, which is Krug Grand Cuvée 171st edition, we have 134 musicians ranging from 2015, which was the closest year to the date of creation, back to 2000. Indeed, it took more than 20 years to craft this bottle.
Wow, that's amazing. So a bunch of different vintages coming together to create the bottle that is in front of us. That's pretty amazing. What about your personal preferences? If we're going to keep it into a music, do you sometimes try a vintage and it tastes a bit more rock this year or a little bit more pop? And what's your personal preference?
Yes, this is what there is no preference because every year is super exciting. Sometimes it's interesting to see that you have years when most of the musicians are best in class, but they are not the easiest year to create Grand Cuvée because Julie says that she has to manage the egos. You might be surprised. Say, what do you mean? Say, no, I have auditioned 300 musicians, but they all pretend to be part of the orchestra, and I don't have a seat for all of them. So, of course, I will ask a great share of them to go to the reserve musicians stock, and I will call them back in other years. And sometimes you have years with so much personality and charisma that every time we blend, whatever musician we bring back, we still hear the year. And it is out of question that a Grand Cuvée sounds like a Grand Cuvée led by whatever year. Even in reality, there is a majority of the youngest year. I loved. I've been on tour for a few weeks, introducing this long-awaited 171st edition of Grand Cuvée, and it's very interesting to see that most of the comments I received were about the freshness, the lightness, the purity, the almost lemony character of this Grand Cuvée, despite it has been built after 2015, where most of the musicians were the opposite of fresh and light. It was a
Big.
warm year, big, full body, rich, charismatic. Like it was more like a bass than a violin. So the master art of Julie was to bring back to the creation some musicians from previous years, bringing back the finesse, the lightness, the life, the energy, the joy that 2015 did not offer spontaneously.
And hence it's so important to keep so much reserve wine from those cooler vintages that at that time will not be ready, but they will be ready by the time they need it to bring that.
Absolutely, it is super important, especially with global warming, because we know that in the past, reserve wine was about keeping a big share of the warm years, because champagne sometimes had difficulty to ripe, and now it's more like the opposite.
Personal connection for you with wine, like you said, you came, basically from teething. You had Krug on your lips. But is there a memory that's associated with you with a certain bottle? Maybe it is sharing with a family member or a season or a celebration. Is there something that's personally connected to you with a bottle of Krug that you could share with us?
I remember being a small kid and being given a small. My grandfather had small silver glasses, which are awful glasses for perfect tasting, but beautiful for kids. And as kids, we were given this little glass. It was like the equivalent of 2 sips, and we always had a glass of Krug in front of us, and I cannot forget these memories.
You are not drinking Krug on those glasses anymore these days, because
No.
you are very passionate about your large glass for the Krug.
Yes, I'm passionate with glassware. I'm a little bit on social media myself, and some years ago I created the hashtag #NoFlute because I was shocked, to be honest, to see the number of people who were given a great bottle of champagne and serving this great bottle in a flute. Why do you serve this beautiful champagne? Let's say Grand Cuvee. It took 20 years to craft this bottle. It took 20 years of patience to get together all this element and all this richness and generous character, and you put it in a flute where people will feel nothing. Every champagne tastes the same in a flute, especially if they are too cold. And I think there is still a great education to be done.
Yeah.
I think never ever drink champagne in a flute. It's like going to the opera with earplugs. You miss everything. You only have a bit of the excess and not always. So no flute, no coupe, because everything will escape. You need a proper glass. At Krug, we have designed our own glass, but I'm not trying to promote our own glasses. You have a lot of very good Chardonnay glasses or sometimes even Pinot Noir glasses that are extremely good to release what required 20 years to be prepared for your pleasure.
And when you touch on temperature, what do you think is the most ideal temperature to drink a Krug Grand Cuvée? I mean, would it differ from summer to winter, for example? Because
what will differ depending on the season is the temperature from which you start. But I think you should aim 11 to 12 when you serve, when you have it in your glass. So maybe you should serve it at 9, 10, and it will warm up, but never below, because below you will close the wines. And myself in my own house, my home, I serve straight from the cellar, and sometimes it's 13 or 14, a bit high for the general public. But if you really want to discover all the beauty and the generous character of Krug, you never too cold.
What about the next generation of winemakers out of the family? Have you? Is there a child in the family that is really connected with the wine, like you have, that you see the passion?
So Krug is not only about winemaking. It is about connecting to the audience and the Krug lovers. I think it's like as people would say today, a 360-degree connection. Myself, I have the chance to be connected to the wine committee, despite I am not a winemaker myself. We have an outstanding team of winemakers. We have this tasting committee built around 7 people, led by Julie Caville. So Julie became 3 years ago the cellar master, chef de cave in French, after 14 years of practice at Krug. So you do not hire a chef de cave. One of your most talented, actually the most talented, Julie, one committee member will become the chef de cave one day. The previous one, Eric, has not retired yet, so he's still part of the committee, but he's not the leader anymore because he's given the key to Julie, and Julie in her committee has 4 or 5 other people much younger. Among them, some of them will fly with their own wings over their career. Some of them will stay, and hopefully the next chef de cave, cellar master, is part of them. As far as my family is concerned, I have 2 kids already in the industry. My eldest son is a winemaker in Burgundy, so he's limited to Pinot Noir and Chardonnay, and he's probably still scared of bubbles. And I have my daughter, who is on the market side, so she's connecting to the Krug lovers, and she's actually based in Australia. And I wish that some of you have the opportunity to meet her in the coming months.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. I'd love to.
I guess, food and wine match. I know you like food and wine match. I think Krug is so much versatility. I think the last time we met was here in Melbourne, and it was at the pizzeria. So we had pizza and Krug, and it was fantastic. Of course, I mean, I could see it with desserts, I could see it with starters, I could see it with oysters, I could see it with cheese, with duck, with everything, right?
Krug is very connected to food, and you can have Krug with the most sophisticated gastronomy, and have Krug with your daily pizza. There is almost nothing forbidden with Krug as far as it doesn't bite your palate or over bitterness, acidity, spices, sugar, but the rest is almost open creativity. And we have a very, very, very strong relationship with top chef, great chefs all over the world. And every year we have a project, almost like a challenge. We pick a single ingredient, because Krug is made around single ingredients. We pick a single ingredient which has to be extremely simple and common, and we challenge some chefs to be creative about this ingredient. So over the time, we've done potato, onion, mushroom, pepper, rice, and this year is about lemon. So I believe a lot of your Krug lovers have heard about Krug and lemon pairings.
Well, thank you very much for your time. It is limited, and it's very special. And we do thank you for coming into our studio and talking about one of the most iconic champagnes in the world, and hearing a little bit about your story has been super lovely as well. So thank you for coming in, and safe travels. And when you're back next, maybe we can sit down with you and your daughter and enjoy a bottle together.
We will, I promise, and we love Australia.
Thank you very much. Thank you.